important data point is that our ports of entry, the customs component meant that we had to process 7.5 million taxpayers. And then we've identified areas where significant improvement needs to be affected so that we keep ourselves honest. Is our taxpayer complaints. We still need to work hard to improve the overall system, address these root causes so that taxpayer complaints can come down. And a lot of these complaints come from blue-collar workers and who often have to take time off from work to come to our offices, and which is why we've moved it to the top of our list of areas where we need to improve. When we report this year's, we will hopefully, we will share with you what we have done since then to look at that phenomena. That also includes being able to honor our service charter and turnaround times. So here, these are the number of areas where we believe in taxpayer service we can still build on and make investments in both technology, data, as well as human capital. The third one is an important objective because SARS has to present a credible threat of detection. If taxpayers believe they can get away, then those who may have a behavioral tendency to disrespect the laws or who find themselves on the wrong side of the law would exploit the system. As we see all the time, the level of exploitation and the level of attack against the system, for example, in refunds and other areas. So here, the first objective was to increase compliance, and this required us to continuously invest in risk detection using data and artificial intelligence. And then also, we are watching very carefully how many of the cases we hand over for criminal prosecution by the NPA, what percentage of that is actually accepted for prosecution. And what we have set ourselves a challenge for is when we hand over a file to the NPA, we want those files to be prosecution ready, so that the NPA can almost proceed immediately to confirm our investigation and to just make a decision on prosecution. And we think that we can introduce this measure, and in the future we will report our investigation and to just make a decision. Just some data points there, and we think that from this we can introduce this measure. We have contributed 215 billion investigation to make a decision. Just some data points there. I'm happy to say that we contribute more than 98% of compliance risks, 15 billion by our machine learning algorithms and our risk engines were correctly identified. Our success rate for in-depth audits is 91% and 68% for standard audits. The large and international business segment, we have continued to build on the foundation we've established in 2019. And you can see the result of that work is that 23.3 billion Rand has been produced by the investigation and audit of some 463 cases. Of the almost 2,000 customs inspections that we conducted, that realized almost 500 million Rand, and seizures to the amount of 4.1 billion. Illicit activities we also shared is we've seen a step up here. That is the capacity that we built to address illicit and criminal economic activities, and in that area we have yielded just over 8 billion of revenue. Obviously not all taxpayers agree with us, so we've had 8,500 appeals, and of that 97% were resolved through the alternative dispute resolution, which means that taxpayers didn't have to go to court, and the dispute was resolved through the internal ADR process. 60 criminal investigations completed and handed over to SAP, and 97.7% conviction rate of the cases. And this comes back to the point I made earlier, that if we do a thorough piece of work and hand over a prosecution-ready case, the NPA is more likely to decide to prosecute and very likely to get a conviction rate, a successful conviction. And I think that statistic speaks for itself. The fourth one is about people. And here, honorable members will know that this is the hardest thing to manage in any organization. It's people, because unlike technology and data, people have hopes and fears and desires and expectations. And so employee engagement is a significant piece of work we do. It addresses the organization at a deep level of its DNA, and we have a very structured employee engagement plan and framework, and every second year we survey the level of engagement through a professional independent organization that is tailored to do engagement surveys. And here we have also, I think, reported previously, we have had a 76% level of participation and a positive engagement of over 60%. But it's also about how do we build leaders. We have developed our own SARS leadership model, which by all accounts is a leading edge, world-class leadership model. But obviously even that has to be embedded in the organization. Every leader must buy into it and be held to account to it. To make sure we also focus on the next generation leaders, we have established in 2021 a junior board that is really an exciting initiative that brings young professionals under the age of 35 around the table, engaging directly with myself, but also challenging EXCO with our thinking by coming with a fresh and audacious perspective and enrich the thinking of the senior leadership team with the insight that young people bring. And also then to focus on the gender inequalities of our society. We have a very focused women in leadership program across all the regions. And through this program, a number of young potential human leaders have been identified and positively impacted on the meaningful engagement and career progression prospects. We recruited 892 skilled employees from the market. This is hard work because in many cases we can't compete against employees in the same industry. And in terms of investing in our own, have made almost 280 internal promotions and appointments and established a talent pipeline of 219 graduates and customs cadets. We are very pleased that SARS was ranked #1 as the most admired employer in the young professionals BCom field. Our racial equity improved from 78 to almost 80%, and gender representation at management levels from 49.6% to 49.9%, and we continue to keep our eye on that. And then we will report also in the future on how we are evolving an employee value proposition that is more appropriate and more future-oriented, also taking into account the new world of work, hybrid work conditions, and balancing quality family time with one's professional life. The next is then increasing the use of data. Here we can spend an entire day just talking about how this has become central to our work. And some of the